The man pressed himself against the enormous window, watching the streetlights and traffic, a deep sense of isolation echoing his thoughts as feelings. His dark eyes and prominent cheekbones were evident in his own reflection. He held a cigarette between his fingers, and the pungent, harsh smell of smoke blended with the distinct, sharp fragrance of his cologne. A woman's silhouette, draped in his white button up shirt, appeared in the dark window's reflection, causing his eyes to narrow. Without turning, he observed the crimson peak of her brow and her graceful movements, reminiscent of a feline hunter poised to strike. With a subtle smirk, he rested the glowing cigarette tip on the cold, polished surface of the marble ashtray. She came up behind him and wrapped her arms around his chest, her long black nails lightly brushing his skin. A low chuckle rumbled in his chest as he briefly glanced at her, the subtle aroma of her perfume reaching him. Couldn't sleep, sugar? Asked the woman in a soft, almost dreamy voice. Through the window, the man watched the cars glide by, lost in thought about how people navigate their lives unconcerned by the hidden dangers. Her brow wrinkled in a frown as he paid her no mind. Is something troubling you? Hearing her question, he gently grasped her hands and quickly spun around to face her. He noticed her cheeks were tingled with a rosy hue, as if a pleasant thought had just crossed her mind. And with a glint of anticipation in her eyes, she hoped the night would bring about something more significant. His face contorted with annoyance as he recoiled, vexed by her perception of him as a merely an object of desire. You can leave, spoke the man, calmly yet coldly. Frustration gnawed at him as he stared at her reflection in the darkened glass, observing the complex tapestry of feelings playing out on her features. She scoffed, crossing her arms firmly over her chest in a gesture of defiance. Really, Jake? Just like that? Hissed the woman. Her lips tightened into a thin line, and her eyes blazed with a sudden red light. Within moments, Jake spun around, his hand clamping around her throat, and with a sickening thud, he sent her crashing to the floor. A sharp stab of the pain made her flinch, her eyes wide with terror, as she looked at him. Keep your fangs, Kate, or I will pull them out, spoke Jake coldly. With narrowed eyes, he glared at her, a potent blend of anger and irritation tightening his expression. His eyes held a spark of anger and danger, a silent dare for her to risk her luck against him. She hissed, revealing her fangs, which could drain the life essence from a human body just in a few minutes. Jake, whispered Kate. The intimacy of his approach was terrifying, his teeth seeming to promise a violent end as he descended upon her, crushing her against the floor. His lips ghosted over her skin unexpectedly, causing a wave of goosebumps to erupt. Her giggle, a light sound, made him pause as if he was rethinking what he was doing. Is this funny to you? Muttered Jake. A slight movement from him allowed her to see the sharp tips of his fangs pressing against his lips. Something dangerous and exciting flickered in his eyes. A soft chuckle escaped her as she gazed at him, anticipating a few more hours of enjoyment together. Sugar, spoke Kate softly. When she attempted to get up from the floor, he pressed down with a greater intensity, causing her to flinch in agony. Suddenly, his eyes blazed with a crimson light, and his fangs pierced her throat. Before she could utter a sound, his hand clamped over her mouth, silencing her cries. A coppery taste coated his tongue, accompanied by the vibrant sensation of her blood throbbing inside him. He let out a love moan of pleasure, a thrill running through him as her attempts to resist only heightened her helplessness against his mind. He savored the rush of the adrenaline, the note of fear, and the sweet craving emanating from her essence, which invigorated him with growing strength. A few minutes later, he pulled away from her lifeless form, the crimson blood tickling from his lips, down his jawline and neck, leaving dark, wet spotches on his chest. He stared at her, his gaze fixating on her pallid complexion, at the telltale blush tingle of her lips. A silent acknowledgement that she was gone. A chuckle escaped his lips as he wiped the last streak of blood from his face. Then, with a deliberate slowness, with a few deep breaths, he felt a strange calm settle over him as the harsh chemical smell of the smoke penetrated his lungs. Ugh, they always fall for that. Always, muttered Jake. He stared at the dead body's reflection in the glass, the red and green of the distant traffic signals fading into insignificance. Reaching into his pants, he retrieved his phone, his thumb hovering over the screen, to dial the single saved number. Yes, spoke someone. Jake paused, gathering his thoughts as the smoke from the cigarette billowed around him, obscuring his view. It's done. Kate won't be hunting anymore, spoke Jake calmly. He heard the steady tip 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 of the keys through the phone, the sound that confirmed every detail was being recorded. Very well, Jake. The council will transfer the money in gratitude for your assistance. Thank you for taking care of the problem, stated someone. He let out a soft chuckle, considering the effortless way he tracked and eliminated rogue vampires, thereby shielding humanity from the knowledge of their existence. Is there something more? Asked Jake. He yearned to dedicate more time to his work, a thought that occupied his mind. Alone, he was thrust into a silent void that made him relieve every past regret. A jolt went through him as his thoughts swirled uncontrollably, and he took a sharp breath, driving in more of the pungent cigarette smoke. I'll be in touch, answered someone through the phone. The call ended, leaving him frustrated as he sent the phone flying across the room, its impact a harsh thud. With his lips pressed into a thin line, hard, he stared at the lifeless form of the rogue vampire, the lingering evidence of a drawn-out hunt and kill. God damn it. I needed a new assignment. I can't just sit like this. Hissed Jake.